Forward and Out has been made possible by the generous support of the following: the Loft Lesbian and Gay Community Services Center, In the Life, Metropolitan Design Associates, Stephanie's Living Room, Psychological Motivations.
I'm Eileen Karn. Welcome to Forward and Out. In the past, parenthood for lesbians and gays was mostly a result of circumstance, usually children from previous marriages. Today, with medical advances, more enlightened courts, and greater openness and pride, parenthood has become a choice for lesbians and gays. On this edition are three members of our community who have chosen parenthood: Douglas Dill, Cecilia Marchetti, and Karen Lowens. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Doug, let's start with you. Tell us about your boys.
I have Warren, who is 6.
6 years old.
Graham, who is 3.
Mm-hmm.
They came home when they were 2 weeks and 10 days old each.
My goodness, so you've had them since they were infants. You
Right.
Adopted them.
Yes, I
Did you
did.
do that here in New York State?
No, I did it in the domestic United States, down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They're Mexican.
Is that where you were living at the time? Or
No, I was living here
Uh-huh.
and dealt with an agency down in Texas.
Okay. I think it would be great interest to our audience to understand a little bit about the adoption process. So tell me a little bit what went on in your mind. You really wanted to be a dad. Is that right?
I've always wanted to be a dad. I'm the youngest of 7 kids and an uncle like 26 plus times and a great uncle a few times and a very prolific family, and always wanted to have children. And when a woman came in the store that I own and said she was adopting a child as a single parent, we got talking, and she was a member of NYSAC, New York Singles Adopting Children, and I said, do men do that? And she said, well, a few. And so I went to one of their support group meetings and found out about this agency in Texas that I dealt with. And
is it a private agency or a
private nonprofit agency?
I see. Affiliated with any other groups or anything? Just
no, they do a lot of single parent placements, but they do placements,
right.
hundreds of placements.
What was the application procedure like? You had to, show your suitability, I guess, as a dad.
Right, very typical, I think, adoption process, like a 12-page application, emotional stability, financial stability, family history, parenting, philosophies, and things like that.
Right. And you were just saying that you're specially equipped by being self-employed to have time with the children. Is that right?
Yeah, my business is established. I've had it for 17 years, so since my son was born 6.5 years ago, I've been working 3 days a week at the most, and usually 2 days a week. So I'm home with them.
Right.
I'm pretty much a full-time parent.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And then you have child care. Someone helps you out when...
Yeah, those 2 days I have a woman from the neighborhood who helps out with the babysitting.
Right, right. How has your family responded to this? Have they, with all the whole extended family?
Right. My parents were great. My mom has since died. She met my older son, and I think everyone was, in retrospect, supportive. I have a few brother-in-laws and brothers who seemed to question me pretty diligently before my oldest came home. You sure you know what you're doing? And this sort of, in the guise of being supportive, they questioned to no end. And now when they look back on it, they say, no, we were supportive. We were just making sure you were doing the right thing. But after Warren, my older one, arrived home, they've been all very, very supportive.
Right, yeah. What's it been like being a single parent, though? I guess not having a backup with a spouse or a mate to help you.
I feel, need to have a real support system in place, and my main support system is my neighborhood where I live. I had knee surgery 2 weeks ago, and I was flat on my back for 3 days, and
oh my goodness,
I didn't see my kids for 5 days. Neighbors came in and picked them up at 8 in the morning, got them on the bus or to the nursery school or whatever, and they brought them back at 8 at night and put them to bed. So I basically slept with them in the house for 5 days. So that's the kind of, I think, support system that you know, probably any parent needs, but in particular a single parent.
Right.
I can handle when they're sick, but I can't handle when I'm sick.
Right. Oh gosh, I guess they're a little young to worry about knowing about your sexual orientation yet. But have you thought about that for the future? Or if you
my older one is pretty much, I mean, they're both growing up with it. My older one questions...
This is Graham? Yeah.
Warren. Warren, who's 6.
He's 6, yes.
And, you know, he's asked why he doesn't have a mom, and we go into detail that he'll, you know...
What do you tell him?
Well, he doesn't have a mom because I adopted him as a single parent, and he's not going to have a mom because I'm gay, and that means if I want to live with someone for the rest of my life, it's going to be a man, so he may have another dad somewhere down the line, but he's not going to have a mom. And so, you know, that's sort of the beginning of the sexual issue right there, in that he knows what gay is. And we have, you know, many, obviously, friends that are gay and lesbian, and, you know, he knows Cecilia and Karen and Hannah and, you know, 2 mom families and 2 dad families, and so he's pretty much got it down, what's gay and what's straight.
Have you run into it in your own personal life, like if you're dating and say your date doesn't like kids or anything like that? Have you run into anything like that? Or I guess you wouldn't date anybody that didn't like it.
My experience is that everybody loves kids. You know, the gay men, oh, I love kids, but then when I can't go to a movie because I can't get a sitter, or we can't be spontaneous, or I can't go to, one case was I couldn't go to Australia for a week because I couldn't get a sitter, you know, then having the kids wasn't quite as much fun as it was loving having kids. So the reality of it is a little different than the theory of it. I think a lot of gay men think, you know, if we end up getting together, it's like an instant family, and it's very appealing and sort of in textbook, but the actual the day-to-day and
sharing some sacrifice, some compromise.
Exactly, and getting to know 3 people instead of 1 is hard for the other person. I think it is difficult. So, and Warren's a hard nut to crack. The older they are, I get the sense, you know, my little one, you know, jumps into a prospective date's hands, you know, another person, great, you know, Warren's sort of chicking it out, you know, you're taking my dad's time. So he's a little bit more, you know, standoffish and...
very understandable.
Right.
Yeah, great. Karen and Cecilia, tell us about your girl. You have an adopted daughter, right? And Karen, you've been married before, and you have older daughters, is that right?
Yeah, I have a almost 27-year-old daughter and a 30-year-old son.
Oh my goodness.
And a 3.5-year-old wonderful little girl. And
how long have you 2 been together?
Almost 10 years.
Oh, that's commitment. Yeah. So at some point along the way, you decided that part of your living together would include a child.
At first, it was no way. Absolutely no way.
She said no way. Right. I've always wanted to.
And we went to an informational meeting, I guess, at the North Street Y, and several people whom we now know and consider friends were there giving a presentation, including one person who kept talking about having an older partner, and you know, after the presentation, you know, like, how old? And like, well, just about my age. So, you know, if she can, I can. And then there was another couple there, one of whom was blind and older. And I said, well, if she can, I can. And that was the beginning of realizing that, hey, you know, this would be a wonderful thing to do, that I'd really want to do it. So I went from no way, no how, I did that already, to, oh, I can't wait. So
with Cecilia's inspiration, too.
Yeah.
Great. So tell us about your daughter.
She's 3.5.
And you've had her since she was an infant also?
Yeah, since the day she was born.
Oh, how wonderful.
And
can you tell us about that, the procedure that in the application and that you had to go through?
We were living in New York at the time.
New York City?
Westchester.
Okay.
And the agency that we worked with is licensed in Vermont and New York. There are 2 ways that you can, 2 basic ways you can adopt, either through an agency or independently, without an agency, but then you deal with lawyers and whatnot. In New York State, the procedure is complicated a little bit further because of the Lisa Steinberg case in the 80s. So the agency that we worked with doesn't place children, but they can act as an agency in an adoption, and that's what they did.
So
And
you contacted them and went through an application procedure
Yes.
with them?
yes, there's a home study that's done by a social worker licensed to do adoption home studies.
At that
in the
point, were
state.
you out to that social worker?
Absolutely.
You were?
Absolutely.
Yes, once we decided that we were going to create our family through adoption, the first question I asked when I called up agencies and social workers for the home studies were, will you work with a lesbian family? And if the answer was no, I said thank you and hung up, and if the answer was yes, we talked. So it was the first question out of my
So
mouth.
encouraging to know that that's out there. I know of a woman who adopted a little boy from Mexico also, but during the period when she was going through the application, her lover like had to be out of the house and didn't exist and was like sort of wiped off the face of the map. Then when everything went through and the little boy was in the house, then, you know, they went back to normal. So you didn't have to do that.
No.
No,
Hallelujah. Great.
Actually, we chose not to do that.
Right, I can hear that you
The
sought out.
Our agency would not have worked with us had we not been open. Our agency is very, our agency doesn't care whether we're gay or straight, whether we're 58 or 28, whether we're single or whether we're in a couple. Our agency's only concern is this a good parent or a good situation for the child? And they wouldn't work with us, and I don't think either of us could live with ourselves if we had to walk around on tiptoes and just, I couldn't. I'm out, that's it. I'm here, I'm out.
Fabulous, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I was just recounting that story because I was so touched that the couple wanted a child so much that one of them was willing to, you know, sort of play along with the game.
There are potential problems with that, though, because if you're going in and saying you're a single parent and you're really not, then you're possibly committing fraud, and an adoption could possibly be overturned on that.
Yes, that's true.
And we did not want to take that chance.
Luckily, I didn't have that issue because I was, in fact, a single parent. There was no other person around, so there was not that involved.
What's your daughter's name?
Hannah. Hannah.
And how
It keeps going.
yeah, tell us.
Hannah Victoria Rose Lowens Marchetti. So that's,
She has a beautiful hyphenated name.
yeah.
And does she call both of you Mom, or how does that work out? Yes.
And she calls us by our first names,
And she
depending on her mood.
and she calls me Mama, and Cecilia's
And I'm Mommy.
Mommy. If only one of us is home, we're Mom. And you know, sometimes she'll call Mom, and I'll answer, "Not you, the other one."
Karen, how have your older children reacted to?
My daughter is my 27-year-old daughter
Right.
is also a lesbian, and has recently announced her engagement. And when they were moving in together, they were going through books to sort them, and among the books were, you know, lesbian parenting and all kinds of stuff. And Alice's partner said, "Well, should we take these?" And Alice said, "No, anything we want to know, I can just ask my mother." So
That's great.
she's great. She adores Hannah. Both of them do, and it's just lovely.
Any other reactions from your family, Cecilia? Or
No, the reactions really have been quite positive. My father, when he heard that we were planning on having a child, was concerned that at his age we would want him to babysit. But that once she was born, that really changed, and he didn't get to see enough of her. But no, the reactions have been very positive. We had a naming ceremony. We were not at the time active in a church or a spiritual community, but we did want to formally bring her into the family, and extended family on both sides was there. People I'm sure who have never even uttered the L word were there.
That's wonderful. If you've just joined us, this is Forward and Out. I'm Eileen Karn, and We're interviewing today Doug Deal, Cecilia Marchetti, and Karen Lowens about being parents. How do you divide your duties? How do you divide up the parenting duties? Is that just been a matter of practicality, or?
Yeah, I think so. Karen is home. Karen is retired.
Hannah is my retirement plan, so, which everyone should have, and it's really. I was not a stay-at-home mom with my first two children,
so you had
and this is wonderful. I mean, I have the time to spend an hour watching. What do you call those insects? Those
bugs, centipedes.
Yeah. No, the ones
spiders.
Anyway, I
She
can
likes
spend
bugs.
I can spend an hour watching a bug, and I have nothing else to do. There's nothing more important. So I'm home, but I will tell you, the minute Cecilia gets home from work, I heave a big sigh of relief.
Right, because now you have a helper.
That's right. And my experience in a straight relationship, I mean, this is only my experience, but I used to ask him for help, my ex-husband, and it was given grudgingly, if at all. There's no asking. We just sort of do what needs doing. And I don't feel like I'm being helped. I hate the idea of being helped, but we just do it when it needs doing.
Right, yeah. Are you involved with the Loft Kids program? Or
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
like that? How has that been? You too, Doug?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of the Loft Kids group.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right.
I know they have like Center Kids at in New York and now the
Right, it
Loft.
was an offshoot from that to the woman and I that founded it were at a Halloween party. We were at that Halloween party where we were crowded in like this about 6 years ago in the city, and we started talking and we decided to start a group up here. I think we're about 39 families now.
Right, and so do you meet weekly, monthly, or? How
Twice a month. We meet a Saturday afternoon a month with the kids at 1 in the afternoon at member homes. And
so
then
each month is a different home. Someone will host the group.
Right. Not all 39 volunteer, but people that can host a meeting volunteer it. And then once a month we meet at a Saturday evening for just adult support to go deal with different issues that you might not want to talk about in front of the children. So it's 8:30 in the evening on Saturday nights. It's usually the second and third Saturdays.
Okay, so that's really wonderful. So as adults you get support, and then the children get to know other children, and they're in a gay environment.
Yeah, it's really nice when Warren, will say, why, like I said, why don't I have a mom, or some issue about gay parenting or gay people, and we can say, we know this people in that family and these people in that family, and it's nice to have a solid basis rather than just sort of theory. So I find it really nice in that regard also.
Right.
I was carpooling our daughter with another friend, with the child of another couple, and I felt like a fly on the wall because I was sitting in the driving away, and Emma says to Hannah, "I've got two moms," and Hannah says, "Well, I've got two moms too," and Emma says, "Well, I've got a birth dad," and Hannah said, "But I've got a birth dad too, and my birth dad's name is so and so, and my birth dad's name is so and so," and we couldn't get this anyplace else. I don't think. It's like, what a wonderful thing for a child to feel. Okay.
Alone, isolated, or different in a way
That's
that
right.
would make them.
It's neat. Warren will ask similar questions in that, it's comfortable now and he knows enough of all different kinds. So now, does that one have a mom and a dad, or do they have two dads, or what do they have?
Isn't that great? He's open. He's already knowing that it isn't just one way.
Right. It's wonderful,
so
the
great.
things they say. And at Muscoot Farm the other day, we saw a woman with her child from Loft Kids, and hey, how you doing? They don't go that often. And so you see people out also. It's not just at the support meetings.
How has school been for Warren? Have you worked with the teachers, and are you out with the?
I'm out. I'm also a firm believer of being out every step of the way. I think as parents in particular, we have to be that much more out. And the public school was very different from the private school. We used to be in a fuzzy
like a nursery school program,
private, touchy-feely parents' participation. It's a cooperative, and now we're in the public schools, and it was much more harrying, if you want to call that word, for me than my son. My son was just psyched it was a new school, but I was like, oh my God, the bus and the public school system.
The PTA.
Right, exactly. So it's been really wonderful. I mean, the teacher just last week for Cinco de Mayo sent home a tape and a book on Cinco de Mayo for us because we celebrated because
right,
of the
yeah,
being
the Mexican festival.
Right. So you know, I think they've been really wonderful so far. Knock on wood, but.
Right.
It was different, and it seems to. I've gotten over that hurdle of being different, and it seems to be going well.
Yeah, great. What's your plans for Hannah? She'll be in public schools and.
Well, she's in nursery school now.
No, and also a fuzzy, warm, touchy-feely experience.
It's actually quite lovely, and we've been very comfortable there, and she's very happy there. We haven't decided what to do with her when she gets older.
We've explored different options. I think the school system that we're in is supposed to be pretty good, but I think we need to be prepared. Our daughter comes first, and if this is not going to be a good situation, then we're going to have to be prepared and have her in a different situation. So we're exploring options.
I think the school system is difficult, no matter what, because there are so few of us. You know, sometimes I'm the class parent in my son's kindergarten class, so I'm in the school a lot and try to be there as much as possible. But day in and day out, the children that have a mom and a dad, their family situation is acknowledged and spoken of. You know, it's moms and dads do this, or books, or you know, the three bears, and there's a mom and a dad and the three bears, and all the stories, they always have a mom and a dad and 2.3 children. So I think it is hard for our kids as they get more into the mainstream. It can be hard, I think. You know, I don't think we should just think, oh, it's all going to be rosy.
Right, yeah.
There are issues as long as we keep acknowledging them and talking about them and answering questions.
Well, that's interesting. We had a show with Dan Wogue, who wrote a book called Schools Out, about being out in the public schools. And, you know, I think it's so important if the teachers, you know, start to come out, and that, you know, that the life beyond, you know, being a little kid could, you know, be more accepting.
Right.
You know, that's great. Just another quick question around the adoption thing. Is it expensive? Is it an expensive procedure?
Mine were expensive. Yes.
And also, yes.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah.
It could have been cheaper. There are, our agency, which is Friends in Adoption in Vermont, works within your budget.
Oh, that's good.
Our
think of it as an elitist thing based on finances. I mean, certainly
it's easier if you have money.
Right. Yeah.
And potentially faster, because the options of your options of agencies and individual birth families that you can work with is larger. But
okay, just for our viewers, I didn't mean to put you on the spot about that. I thought it was one part of it. What would you say to viewers who are interested in being parents? Would you have some specific advice for them? Anybody?
I feel like it's one of do it. I think it's one of those things. No matter what anybody says, you know, no matter what people told me about parenting, I knew, and then when it happened, I didn't know. You know, it's like, you know, you just can't describe or that kind of thing. I would recommend coming to the Loft Kids support group. A lot of people, I think you guys came
we
before
started
you
coming
had
long
children.
before.
A lot of
Before you
people
had the
come
kids.
before
Excellent.
children.
There you go.
To get a sense and ask questions and
Okay. Great. We're out of time. But how wonderful to have you here. And I'm sure it's been an inspiration for a lot of people out there. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments or would like more information about the topic, please write to Forward and Out, P.O. Box 583, White Plains, New York, 10603. Thanks for watching. And until next time, be proud.